Now I'm going to introduce you to the chord. And we're going to start off with major chords. And if you think about the analogy we used in the first video, when we talked about learning how to speak, when we talked about little children learning to speak, if we use that same analogy, a chord is like a word. So the individual notes on a piano are kind of like the sounds that babies make when they're learning how to speak. They might and ah and ooh. Well, those don't really have much power in and of themselves. It's when you start combining sounds like mom and dad, that's when there's some power. So in the language, when we combine sounds, we make a word. In music, when we combine notes, we make a chord. And just like in language, when you form words and you string a bunch of words together to create a sentence, you create a lot of power. You can create a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling by the words that you say and how you clump them together. You can write a story or a poem, a book. Music is really the same way. You put a bunch of notes together and you create words, you create chords. And when you put those together, you create a song. It can be a short song about love. It can be a long song. It can be about in a movie to help create emotion along with what you're seeing on the screen. And so chords are those words. And we're going to start off by just talking about the major chord. And we'll get into major, minor, diminished, augmented, all that stuff later on. But right now we're just going to focus on the major chord because it's really the easiest one to start with and it makes a lot of sense. All right, so if we were to go to ultimateguitar.com and enter the name of a song we want to learn, we would eventually get a page that looks like this. So I entered in Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton, and I can see that they've got the lyrics here, and down below, I've got a G, D, C, and a D. Now, let's not pay attention to the D/F sharp. We'll get to that in later lessons. But right now, we're just looking at some letters that are above these lyrics. And Ultimate Guitar, as the name indicates, this is meant for guitar players to pull up this page and play a G chord, D chord, C chord, D chord on the guitar. And you might think, well, this is only for guitar, but that's not true. You can apply the same chords to the piano and you're going to get a beautiful song. And you're going to be able to sing along to this. And if someone else plays the guitar, you could play these chords and they could play these chords and it would match and you could play together. So let's take a look at what makes up these chords. How do you know which notes to play when you see the G, the D, or the C? So for the example, we're just going to start with C. And there are 3 steps to follow when finding the major chords. And we're going to go through these steps right now. Step 1 is to find the chord's root. Step 2, find the available notes in the major chord. Step 3, you're going to play the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes. So let's break these up and walk through them. So finding the chord's root. That sounds more complicated than it really is. All it's saying is that when you're looking at Ultimate Guitar and you see these letters, in this case we notice there's the letter C. All we're going to do is go to the piano and plunk the C note. That is finding the root. It's easy. It's straightforward. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we're going to find the available notes. Now, just like in the language, English language, you have some sounds together like pop. If you change that middle sound a little bit, you could get poop. And I have kids, so maybe my potty language is, that's what I listen to a lot of the day. But it's interesting, you have 2 of these sounds, p, and depending on what you put in the middle, you change the meaning of that word, and you change the emotion of that word. This is just the same in a chord. You can't just play any notes to make a chord. At least you can't play any notes to make a major chord. You can only play from a selection. So we need to find those available notes so that we don't end up playing poop. All right, we want to make the right sounds. So there's a pattern we're going to learn, and I recommend that you memorize this. Super, super easy. It's whole, whole, half, whole. And what this is referring to is a step, whole steps and half steps. And in the previous video, we talked about half steps. We haven't touched on whole steps yet, so let's talk about that now. So we found the root of the chord, which is C. If we go up a half step, we would get a C sharp. That's if you go up one note. So from one note to the next, that's a half step. But if you skip a note, you get a whole step. So that pattern goes along, if we continue it, we have whole, whole, half, whole. And we're going to do this a couple more times. So if you didn't catch it, you can either rewind it or just sit tight and we are going to cover all of it. But what we're doing here is we found the root note of the C chord, which is C. It's not very difficult. And then we're finding which notes are available to play in C major. And we find that pattern. So now we know if we're going to play a C major chord, we're not going to play any of those black keys. We're only going to play the white keys. And we figured that out by doing whole, whole, half, whole. Or in other words, whole step, half step, whole step. So these are the available notes. Now we're going to go to step 3. We're just going to play the first, third, and fifth notes to get our major chord. So we're going to label these or number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you're thinking about the hand, your thumb, if this is your right hand, I guess it actually works either way. Your thumb is your 1 digit, 2 digit, 3, 4, and 5. And all we're going to do is play the first, third, and fifth note. When you're playing a chord, it's going to be your thumb, your middle finger, and your pinky. And you can play different fingers, but that's typically how it goes. Your thumb, middle finger, pinky. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your C chord. C, E, G. And that sound like we took a lot of steps to get there, but let's just do a little bit faster for this next one. Let's jump. We're back in Wonderful Tonight Chords by Eric Clapton. Let's go to the G chord. So we're going to find the chord's root. We're going to find the available notes, and we're going to play the first, third, and fifth notes. So let's just do that really quick. The G, we would find, okay, so that's the root. We're going to do our whole, whole, half, whole. So now we know that the available notes to play are G, A, B, C, and D. And then we're just going to play we're going to find our first, third, and fifth note, and we're just going to play that. And that is the G chord. Now let's go back and do the D chord. It's the same thing. We're going to find the chord's root. We're going to find the available notes that we can play, and then we're going to play the first, third, and fifth notes. So we're going to find the root. Pretty easy. We know that that's the D note. We're going to do our whole, whole. Now look, this is a little trickier. I mean, it's not really trickier. It's just, it's something to pay attention to. We skipped the black note to go from D to E, and now we're skipping, I say note, it should be key. We're skipping the black key, and now we're skipping the white key to go up to that F sharp. So then we do our half step down, and we're going to do our whole step over there to get to the other white key. So if we do our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we only play the first, third, and fifth notes, we have D, F sharp, and A. Now, if you think about it, playing chords on the piano is actually going to be easier for you than playing chords on the guitar. If you look at the guitar chords for major chords, you have all these different patterns you've got to memorize. And not only that, you've got to push your fingers down on the fret or on the strings at each fret, and you get those calluses, and it really hurts. And it takes a while to learn how to play just a handful of chords on the guitar. But if we look at the piano, this is really cool. You're going to notice that they've got this same pattern. You're just playing the first, third, and fifth note. So C chord, that's a D chord, E chord, F chord, G chord, A chord. Now, if you didn't follow all that, no worries. We're going to actually break down each chord individually and do some exercises and learn how to play them, and you're going to do great. But I just wanted to show you that playing the piano chords is pretty easy. Once you learn which notes are available, and you can really just memorize these. If you go through and you can memorize what the C chord is and the D chord, you're going to be able to pick this up so fast because you're just playing 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5 over and over and over again, and that can be your chords. Now, in future lessons, we'll talk about some variations we can make to make your chords sound a little richer and to give them a different, what they call voicing. Let's not worry about that right now, though. Right now, I just want to show you that it's super easy to play these chords. And if you follow these patterns for learning the chords, you can open up Ultimate Guitar to any of the songs that play major chords, and you can figure out how to play any chord they present in there. So go ahead and give it a try yourself. Just follow those 3 steps of finding the root of the chord, of finding the available notes in that chord, and playing the 1st, 3rd, and 5th of those notes. You're going to do great.